Well, good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to call this meeting of the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality to order. Today is Wednesday, November 2nd, 2022. The time is 9:30 a.m. With us today in person are Commissioners Emily Lindley and our General Counsel, Mary Smith. Commissioner Janeka is joining us virtually. Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
And we hear you loud and clear. I'm John Neerman. For those who are joining us virtually, please keep your microphones muted when you're not speaking. That goes for everyone except for Commissioner Janeka, may do as he pleases. For those who are making presentations, please wait to begin your presentation until our General Counsel or I have asked you to begin speaking. On items where argument or discussion is allowed, we will inform speakers of their time limits. Registration has now closed, but if you'd like to address the Commission on a particular item, please email agenda@tcq.texas.gov with your name, affiliation, and the item you'd like to comment on, and we will do our best to accommodate that request. With that, I'd like to thank everyone for being present in person and virtually. And Ms. Smith, I'll ask you to please call the first item.
Item number 1 is the consideration of the petition filed by GRBK Edgewood LLC for the creation of Ellis Ranch Municipal Utility District Number 1. The parties have been notified that the commissioners will not take oral argument but may ask questions, and those who have signed in will be noted for the record.
So, colleagues, as you know, we review requests for contested case hearings on mud creations under Chapter 55, Subchapter G, and so we are looking for affected persons. We do not, under these rules, need to identify particular issues. Ellis County is the sole requester on this item. It has cited concerns and statutory authority over transportation, emergency services, and health and safety. The proposed mud is entirely within the county, so I think the county is pretty clearly an affected person. And if you agree, I would also suggest that we include an ADR referral. Commissioner Lindley?
I'm in agreement on both items.
Commissioner Janeka?
Likewise. Likewise, thank you.
Thank you. I think we may be ready for a motion then.
I move that we grant the hearing request of Ellis County, that we refer the matter to SOA for a contested case hearing on the petition, and that we refer this matter to the Commission's Alternative Dispute Resolution Program to run concurrently with the SOA preliminary hearing scheduling process.
I second that motion.
The motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 And the motion carries. Ms. Smith, when you're ready, please call the next item.
We'll give folks a moment to get up to the table here. Item number 2 is the application by Western Refining Terminals LLC to renew air quality permit number 93546. The parties have been notified that the commission will not take oral argument but may ask questions, and those who have signed in will be noted for the record.
So, colleagues, we have several hearing requests on this renewal of an air quality permit. However, because this is a no increase renewal under Texas Clean Air Act, Section 382.056, I agree with the Executive Director and OPIC that we're compelled to deny the requests. Is there any discussion?
I'm in agreement.
Commissioner Janeka?
Well said, Chairman. I have a motion ready to proceed.
Great.
I move that we find that there is no right to a hearing on this application pursuant to Texas Health and Safety Code 382.056, that we deny all hearing requests, that we issue the renewal of air quality permit number 93546 to Western Refining Terminals LLC as recommended by the Executive Director, and that we adopt the Executive Director's response to comments.
I second.
The motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Thank you. Ms. Smith, when you're ready, please call the next item.
Item number 3 is the consideration of gifts and donations of $500 or more in value given to the TCEQ, submitted for approval in accordance with Chapter 575 of the Texas Government Code concerning acceptance of gifts and donations by certain state agencies. The Executive Director's staff is here to present this item.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, General Counsel, and Public Interest Counsel. For the record, my name is Yen Tran of the General Law Division, representing the Executive Director. Before you are the gifts and donations received by the agency in the past 90 days. In accordance with Chapter 575 of the Government Code, the Executive Director has accepted these gifts and respectfully requests your acknowledgement of these gifts. As always, I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Tran. I have none. Commissioner Lindley?
No questions.
Commissioner Janeka?
No questions other than to acknowledge the generosity of the federal government in assisting some of the training, the associations that likewise send some of our staff to training they wouldn't be able to. In this instance, this report, the generosity of a couple private companies giving gift cards that we could give out to the public for some of our different contests, and I think that that's a wonderful exercise on government, and want to thank the Grubbs Family Dealerships and H-E-B Grocery Company, little old grocery store there, on that count. But thank you.
Yeah, without belaboring it, I just want to echo your comments. We really appreciate all our donors. Those gifts go directly to support our programs and our mission, and we really do appreciate it. Ms. Smith, is anybody signed in to speak on this item?
No one signed in.
Mr. Arthur, what say OPIC?
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, General Counsel, and ED staff. OPIC recommends approval of the resolution acknowledging acceptance of gifts and donations as presented by the ED.
Thank you. Colleagues, I agree. Of course, I've reviewed these items. I think we're ready for a motion.
I agree. I would move that we approve issuance of the resolution acknowledging the Executive Director's acceptance of the gifts and donations contained in the TCEQ Interoffice Memorandum to the Commissioners dated October 12th, 2022, docket number 2022-1005-MIS.
I second the motion.
The motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Tran. Ms. Smith, when you're ready, please call the next item. Or I should say items. We're taking up 4 and 5 together.
Oh, I think we're taking them up separately.
Oh, we're taking them up separately. Okay.
Item number 4 is the consideration for approval to publish and solicit comment on the draft implementation plan for 2 total maximum daily loads for indicator bacteria in Sandy Creek and Wolf Creek.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, General Counsel, and Public Interest Counsel. For the record, I am Jason Leifester with the Water Quality Planning Division in the Office of Water. With me today are Nicole Reed with the Total Maximum Daily Load Program and Aubrey Powelko with the Environmental Law Division. Today, the Executive Director is requesting the release for public comment of the implementation plan for 2 total maximum daily loads for indicator bacteria in Sandy Creek and Wolf Creek. The I-Plan covers 2 assessment units in 2 water bodies within Jasper and Tyler counties. A stakeholder group was formed with balanced representation of all interested parties and was tasked with providing input on the I-Plan document. The development of this document included an active public participation effort and balanced stakeholder group coordinated by the TCEQ and the Texas Water Resources Institute. The success of this project is due to the collaborative effort of the individuals and organizations that put in the time to develop this document to improve water quality in their community. The Executive Director respectfully requests approval to publish the implementation plan for public comment. Permission is also requested to make non-substantive and clerical corrections before providing the documents for public notice. Thank you, and we are available to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you. I have none. Commissioner Lindley, any questions?
Thank you.
Commissioner Janeka? See none?
No questions. I appreciate the work that went into creating this document and the stakeholder engagement to get many of these factors correct.
Thank you, Commissioner. Ms. Smith, is anybody signed in to speak on this item?
No one signed in.
And Mr. Arthur, what does OPIC think?
OPIC supports publication of the draft implementation plan for 2 TMDLs in Sandy and Wolf Creeks.
I agree.
I would agree as well.
I think we're ready for a motion.
I've got a motion prepared. I move that we approve the publication of and solicitation of public comment on the draft implementation plan for 2 total maximum daily loads for indicator bacteria in Sandy Creek and Wolf Creek, as recommended by the executive director.
I second.
The motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 The motion carries. Ms. Smith, please call the next item.
Item number 5 is the consideration for approval to publish and solicit public comment on the draft implementation plan for 2 total maximum daily loads for indicator bacteria in the Caney Creek watershed. The executive director's staff is here to present this item.
Good morning again.
Good morning again, Chairman, Commissioners, General Counsel, and Public Interest Counsel. For the record, I'm Jason Leifester with the Water Quality Planning Division in the Office of Water. And with me today are Nicole Reed with the Total Maximum Daily Load Program and Aubrey Powalka with the Environmental Law Division. Today, the Executive Director is requesting the release for public comment of the implementation plan for 2 total maximum daily loads and indicator bacteria in the Caney Creek watershed. The I-Plan covers 2 assessment units and 2 water bodies in Brazoria, Matagorda, and Wharton counties. The stakeholder group was formed with balanced representation of all interested parties and was tasked with providing input on the I-Plan document. The development of this document included an active public participation effort and balanced stakeholder group coordinated by TCEQ and the Houston-Galveston Area Council. The success of this project is due to the collaborative effort of individuals and organizations that put in the time to develop this document to improve water quality in their community. The Executive Director respectfully requests approval to publish the implementation plan for public comment. Permission is also requested to make non-substantive and clerical corrections before providing the documents for public notice. Thank you, and we are available to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Leifester. I have none. Commissioner
No
Lindley.
questions, thank you.
Commissioner Janeka.
I have one question, and at the risk of Ms. Smith needing to kick me through the desk when I'm underneath the desk when I'm not there in person, I want to refer back to the previous item. Just acknowledge that these 2 matters are very similar, but reflect very different features in the community and actual development or in some cases wildlife of the respective different watersheds. And so I appreciate staff acknowledging the potential in this matter for this the Caney Creek watershed. It looks like there's extra room to potential reach for improvements, taking credit for it in the on-site sewer facility improvement piece. And that's not really a question other than just to acknowledge and recognize the different pieces of these different watersheds. And I think in this one, the credit for the number of removal of feral hogs is accounted for in the net calculations and predictions in this plan. And so at that point, I just wanted to offer to staff, and I don't expect an answer today necessarily, but please let me know if any community members need volunteers to help in that effort. I think, we have lots of agency staff and I've got friends and colleagues who would jump at the chance of being volunteer. We can help manage feral hogs. Joking aside, I think it's that level of granularity that's important to really reach the public in the places where it does translate to impacts on our watersheds. So I appreciate staff and those community stakeholders, again, who have worked to give us feedback on, no, this number seems right, that number from the state seems wrong, we need to have a higher number. I think that really reflects the work and investment of people wanting to put in the work down the road, because this will take effort from all stakeholders and all pieces of this plan. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Janeka. And since you raised the issue, I'm going to actually refer back to part of the implementation plan for item 4. The Texas Stream team is always looking for volunteers. So any citizen who wants to get involved in that program, they will do the training. The Meadow Center maintains the data, and it's a great way to be involved in your community if you want to do something to help keep a watchful eye out for the quality of Texas's surface water. So lots of good stuff in those I-plans, and Mr. Leifester, let me just give staff an opportunity to respond to any of that if you'd like to, but you certainly don't need to.
Well, I will just say this was a case where I worked on this Caney project myself, and we had come up with our usual estimate for feral hogs and the method that we used, and the stakeholders thought that those numbers were way too low. We reached out to the soil board and then to another extension agent that had worked on feral hogs, and we adjusted those numbers, and I think they're much more reflective of reality now. And they would welcome any help they could in trying to reduce those numbers.
Great, thank you. There you go, Commissioner Janeka. Also, since you're not here, I don't think our general counsel was at all nervous about your comments, but just in case something comes up, since she can't kick you, we'll just agree that she'll yell "stop" really loudly, okay?
Appreciate that. Thanks for the valuable body language feedback in this new medium for having meetings that we're continuing to evolve with.
All right, I think we're looking for interested persons on item 5.
We don't have anyone signed in on 5.
Okay, Mr. Arthur.
OPIC supports publication of the draft implementation plan for 2 TMDLs in the Caney Creek watershed.
Thank you. And colleagues, I'm ready to put this I-plan out for public comment.
I agree. I would move that we approve the publication of and solicitation of public comment on the draft implementation plan for 2 total maximum daily loads for indicator package area in the Caney Creek watershed as recommended by the executive director.
I second that motion.
The motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Thank you. Ms. Smith, when you're ready, please call the next items.
Items 6 through 26 are our enforcement docket items. The executive director's staff is here to present these matters.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, General Counsel, and Public Interest Counsel. For the record, my name is Melissa Cordell of the Enforcement Division, and with me today are Michael Parrish, also of the Enforcement Division, and Gitanjali Yadav of the Litigation Division representing the Executive Director. Pending before you are items 6 through 26. The total assessed administrative penalties are $653,428, with $55,559 deferred, $225,677 applied towards supplemental environmental projects, and $372,192 to the general revenue. We respectfully request approval of these items and are available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Cordell. I have none. Commissioner Lindley?
No questions?
Commissioner Janeka? See none?
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Smith, is anybody signed in to speak on these items?
So we'll just note that on items 6, 8, 9, and 10, we have individuals signed in who indicated that they don't need to speak unless there are any questions. And for item 21, virtually, we have a representative from JD Gruel Incorporated who has indicated that they will speak.
That they do wish to speak?
Yes.
Okay, and who is that?
Which item?
Item 21.
JD Gruel Incorporated.
Okay. Is there somebody on the line for JD Cruel? Hearing none. Is there any, and I think this person may have been in the building?
No, I think online.
Online, okay.
Online.
All right, one more time, JD Gruel. All right, well, we're sorry not to have the benefit of your comments, but we'll come back to you after we hear from OPIC. Mr. Arthur.
Thank you, Chairman. OPIC supports adoption of these enforcement orders as presented by ED staff.
Thank you. Okay. I think we're not going to get a comment on item 21, so I think we're good to move forward. I'm certainly fine
Yeah.
with this enforcement docket. Commissioner Lindley?
I am as well.
Commissioner Janeka?
Likewise.
Okay, I think we're ready for a motion.
I can move that we adopt items 6 through 26 as recommended by the executive director.
I second the motion.
The motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 The motion
Thank you,
carries.
Commissioner. I forgot it was my turn.
I missed that last comment, Commissioner. Would you repeat yourself?
We both paused. I forgot it was my turn to make the motion. Not that there's any turns, but thank you, Commissioner Limley.
Well, we got it done. Thank you, Commissioner. Again, that motion carries. Ms. Cordell, thank you. And Ms. Smith, when you're ready, please call the next item.
Item 27 is consideration of a petition for rulemaking filed by Galveston County to amend 30 Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 285, to allow the use of an OSSF system on a lot size smaller than half an acre. Galveston County is the petitioner and should present the matter, followed by other interested persons, the ED, and OPIC. OGC recommends limiting the petitioner, ED, and OPIC to 5 minutes each for their presentation, and interested persons will have 3 minutes each. All speakers should be cautious in their remarks and not mention pending permits or enforcement matters. And I believe that we're beginning with Galveston County, and we have County Commissioner Joe, and I'm very sorry if I'm mispronouncing this name, Giusti, thanks, and Zach Davidson.
Commissioner, good morning. That was very good. Good morning. I looked it up. Commissioner, do you have a green button or a green light turned on your microphone? Okay. All right, our AV guy in the back of the room is shaking his head. We're not sure we have you yet. Try pressing the button once or twice and we'll see if.
We're good.
There we go, we got you. All right, when you're
Thank
ready,
you.
please just state your name again for the record, and then the floor is yours, sir.
My name is Joe Giusti, Galveston County Commissioner, Precinct 2, which is the coastal precinct in Galveston, all of Galveston Island, all of Bolivar, and up on the mainland somewhat. The Galveston County Commissioners Court, near the beginning of September, unanimously approved approaching y'all with a rule change. So we did that in hopes that y'all would help us out, give us some direction, tell us what we can do, because the Bolivar Peninsula is in dire need of help. There's a lot of residents over there. There's a lot of developers that want to develop the peninsula, and it's hard for them to do because of the current situation. So we're asking for a rule change, basically, of Chapter 285, as y'all stated, and that's where we're going. Is that the only answer? I don't know. I know there's answers out there that we can find, and we're hoping to get some direction actually from y'all. And this rule change we feel would really help us do that, because then we can go and have things by registered engineers, by sanitarians that can design systems that of less than a half an acre to get us where we need to be. And I'd like to bring up Zach Davidson at this point, who can tell you a lot more about it than I can, actually,
Great.
because he spent a lot of time with it. Thank y'all.
Thank
very
you,
much.
Commissioner. Good morning, Mr. Davidson.
Good morning. My name is Zach Davidson. I serve as the Galveston County Director of Government Relations, Director of Communications, and Chairman of the Galveston County United Board of Health, which oversees our health district, which happens to be the permitting authority for OSSFs. Commissioner Giusti laid out kind of the situation that we're facing on the Bolivar Peninsula that brought us here today. I wanted to expand on that a little bit. I know that there is going to be opposition to what we are suggesting. We certainly understand that. But I kind of want to paint the picture of why we are here today. So the Bolivar Peninsula is disconnected from the rest of Galveston County by the Houston Ship Channel. It's about 22 miles long. It's home to about 3,000 residents. Over the past 2 years, the private wastewater service provider on the peninsula based on numbers provided by TCEQ, has spilled 164,000 gallons of sewage onto the peninsula. For a community of, 3,000 people.
And this is where we start to get
I'll
into
move on. I'll
enforcement,
move
so
on
we
from
should.
it.
And just if
Yes.
I could interject just for a moment, Mr. Davidson, the issue is we don't want to have facts before us on a contested item that's not noticed because it creates ethical issues and
Absolutely.
potential recusal. So I think maybe suffice to say the local utility is unable to provide the service,
yes,
I guess.
Yes. Which has led to a number of residents and developers to ask for OSSFs to the Galveston County Health District. Many of those permit applications have been for lots under half an acre, which obviously under administrative code right now cannot be approved. The Health District has reached out, got guidance from TCEQ that said, yes, you can give variances in certain cases, but with so many applications coming in, the Health District was advised not to give all the variances because it becomes, in effect, a blatant variance. Which leads us here today, because we are in a situation where there are challenges with the existing wastewater system on the peninsula. And we have developers and residents that are looking for alternatives, looking for options. We certainly understand that changing administrative code would have far-reaching impacts across the state. It doesn't just affect the Bolivar Peninsula or Galveston County, which is why the rule that we proposed, or the language that we proposed, has in there that the system would have to be designed by a registered sanitarian or engineer, as well as reviewed and approved by the permitting authority, which obviously across the state is not the Health District. It's whatever it is in whatever counties, which still gives some local control and allows each one of those permitting authorities to review the applications and do what they deem necessary. We also understand that even if this rule was to be changed, it would not solve the challenges that we are facing on the Bolivar Peninsula, because only a very small number of lots under half an acre would actually be workable for septic systems. But it would provide some relief to some residents on the peninsula. So that is what brings us here today. I'm happy to answer any questions you all may have or turn it over to the other speakers.
Thank you, Mr. Davidson. I don't have any questions at this point. Commissioner Lindley?
No, thank you.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Janeka?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Appreciate it.
Davidson.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. I think we'll hear next from any interested persons. Ms. Smith, who has signed in to speak on this item?
We have several people who have signed in to speak, and we'll begin by calling Mrs. Vonda Bob.
Ms. Bob, are you in the room or online? No. She was running a little late. Okay. She didn't. Maybe we can come back to her at the end. If she makes it, we'll get to hear from her.
Randy Chalette.
Good morning, Mr. Shillette. Good to see you.
Morning, John. Chairman, appreciate this opportunity to speak to you guys again. And I just cut to the chase. I represent Texas On-Site Wastewater Association. I'm the executive director, and had a chance to visit with the board of directors on the 26th. So was able to address this issue with all of our board, and we're all vehemently opposed to this, mainly for the multiple reasons. But I did send you guys an email last night so that you could look at some of the data and documents that I've gathered. The history of our on-site wastewater rules goes back a little over 30 years. And my history with Bolivar Peninsula is a little bit personal. I lived in High Island for 8 years and shrimped out of Port Bolivar. And during the wintertime, when shrimp would slow down, I'd oyster with the oyster fishermen. Well, the backside of that Bolivar Peninsula has always been affected by wastewater. You cannot go collect oysters today. You couldn't back in the 80s because the fecal matter in that coastal region from the development there. Back in the 80s, the big difference is it was all conventional septic tank and drain field. So only 35% of the wastewater is treated with a conventional septic tank. 65% of the waste had to be treated in the soil. Well, you got rapidly, water moves rapidly through sand, went right to the water table. Most of that treatment is being taken place by aerobic advanced wastewater treatment systems now with drip irrigation, but you have a lot higher concentration of people. The 3,000 people that live there that work in the restaurants, and that's minute compared to the people that get there in the summertime. And that's the issue. You have structures and buildings that have 400 and 500 gallon per day design flows that end up with 30, 40, 50 family members there on any given weekend. And these systems are already stressed as it is. If they were built with flow equalization that, you know, made it a perfect system to be able to handle those heavy peak flows, you'd still end up with untreated waste going to the water table with these small lots that they're proposing. And this would be disastrous for the region. And so I basically put all this in writing to you guys so that I'm not going to stand up here and take up too much of your time here today. I know there's a lot of other people here that have other things, but I do have a colleague here that's going to expand on this some more. And we just believe this would be terrible for the environment and public health to allow this to happen. And not only in that area, but if we change the rule statewide to do this, now you're talking about small lot sizes being developed in areas where instead of it going straight to the water table, like throughout all of East Texas, that raw sewage is coming to the surface. Now you got public health threat coming in contact with raw sewage. So it's a big deal. There's a reason why we have a minimum of a half-acre rule in Texas, and that's because you can't make wastewater just disappear yet. The research is going on, and we're looking for it. We're almost there, but we're not there yet.
Thank you, Mr. Schlett. Appreciate it.
Michael Braden,
Mr. Braden?
I believe he's virtual.
Mr. Braden, are you with us? Why don't we come back to Mr. Braden also?
Okay. David Price.
Mr. Price?
You'll have to excuse the shirt.
Oh, no, it's great. It's great. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Nice to see you again, Commissioners. My name is David Price. I am a board member with Mr. Schlett from the Texas On-Site Wastewater Association. As a member of that association, I'm the chair of their technical committee. I'm also here on behalf of actually a different group, the Texas Rivers Protection Association, who we've spoken to y'all about, and our main goal is the safe and wise use of rivers, but this includes nutrient loading into not only rivers, but bays and estuaries. The other odd part of this is not only do I do that, but I'm also a licensed installer, I'm a licensed engineer, I'm a licensed maintenance provider. I have worked with regulatory authorities in the past to basically help solve their problems. As Mr. Schlett mentioned, technically, the proposal before y'all would roll back regulations that y'all have had in effect for over 20 years. And one reason that those regulations were tightened up some years ago is the very problem that Mr. Schlett mentioned. And I have worked with TCEQ staff in the past and actually a lot of their predecessors on these very issues. Now, as Randy had mentioned, the soils on the Bolivar Peninsula are not really suitable for conventional type systems. The reason for that is they're extremely permeable, and the way that ground disposal systems, as I will call them, work is holding that bacteria and those nutrients in the top aerobic portion of that soil. In plain terms, that means that the free oxygen available is bound to the soil particles, and that's where the treatment occurs. However, if you have either high groundwater, extremely permeable soils, or soil overloading, which does happen on these type of systems, I happen to own a system up on Lake LBJ. It's designed for 240 gallons, but it's not unusual to have 20 or 30 people up there, as Mr. Schlett said. We take care of that with what's called flow equalization, not required in the rules, by the way. The other issue that we have, the design by PE or RS does not actually meet current code. In a section of 28591, these would require secondary treatment. In the existing code, that is by a professional engineer only. Okay, the second part of that is these design reviews by a DR, which does not have to be a PE, does not have to be an RS, generally is far beyond their technical ability to review. TCEQ, the on-site division, recently issued a memorandum about 5 or 6 weeks ago directing the DRs to enforce and to follow this rule, which has historically not been enforced and not been done. So that's a further problem. Okay, if there's an entrance, a problem.
And I'll just ask you, Mr. Price, to finish your thought.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And so anyway, our organization, TRPA, as well as TAWA, we will work with these people to help them come up with a solution. Same thing with TCEQ. We're not here saying don't develop. We're saying here, if you're gonna do it responsibly and sustainably. And we're offering to do that.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Price.
you.
I do have a quick question for you. Is flow equalization what it sounds like? Are you just sort of capturing the excess and then just moving it through the system?
Slowly, that's
Slowly,
correct.
yeah,
And so what
okay.
you do is you store your piece.
You have a
in
storage
this-
tank, yeah.
Right, and then you dose it to the system.
Right.
But then that works in certain instances, but if you don't have the good soil to start with, it's gonna leach out anyway.
Okay.
So you really can't use what we call a soil disposal type system anywhere on this peninsula due to the soil classes out there.
Okay.
They just don't work.
I understand the comment. Thank you, Mr. Price.
Yeah.
Brian Sabsick?
Mr. Sapsik, are you, I don't see you in the room. Are you with us virtually?
Right, I'm virtually. Can you hear me?
We hear you. Go ahead when you're ready, sir.
Great. Thanks a lot, Chairman Neerman. Before I start the clock on my official comments, I wanted to ask if I could get the indulgence of the commissioners to speak longer. I am noting that you're whipping through today's agenda pretty quickly. And the reason I'm asking for this indulgence is that this is a very huge change that Galveston County is proposing. One county is proposing to change the rules for the other 253. We did not find out about this petition until fairly recently. I was not able to submit our official statement until yesterday. I doubt that you've had a time to read it. If you are planning on voting on this petition today, this morning, I would ask that you please allow some more time for discussion of this because this is a huge issue. If you're not planning on voting today and have time to read our statement and other comments later, then I can limit my remarks. I will limit my remarks anyway, but I'll just let you know how long I have to speak.
Well, Mr. Sapsik, just a few thoughts off the top. Number one, I just want to make clear, because there are often some misconceptions about what a petition for rulemaking does, and so I just want to be clear about procedurally what we're doing this morning. If we grant a rulemaking petition, that rulemaking is really simply an inquiry about the need for the rule and the right shape of the rule. So granting a petition for rulemaking doesn't mean that we have adopted a rule of any particular form. In fact, it's no guarantee that there will be any rule adopted. It just begins an inquiry. So it simply begins a process. So a lot of people think that if there's a petition for rulemaking before the agency and the agency grants a petition, we have adopted the rule proposed. That is not the case. It's just the beginning of the inquiry. So I'm hoping that assuages your concerns somewhat, because even if we were to grant one today, that would be followed by a long stakeholder process, which will take twists and turns that we can't predict. Now, in terms of the time, we'd like to keep things moving, and why don't we check in with you at 3 minutes, and you can highlight what you have left to say, and we'll see where we are at that point. Does that sound fair?
Yes, but again, before I start the clock on this, I really have to respond to what you just said, because
Sure.
you will remember that my organization was one of the petitioners that filed the Pristine Streams petition that y'all heard on March 30th. And you did not follow exactly what you said just now. You did not agree to approve the petition in order to start a rulemaking process. You felt that the...
I'm going to interrupt and caution that that is an item that is not before the commission today. And so probably shouldn't be fulsomely discussed
Thank you,
under
Ms.
this
Smith.
topic.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. And Mr. Zabzik noted. I intend to call a vote on this item today. So you had asked that question, unless my colleagues have other ideas, they can chime in. We're going to start the clock now. We'll take 3 minutes of your comments, and then at the end of that, let's have a conversation about what more you may want to outline for us.
Okay, sounds fair. Save Barton Creek Association, which has worked to protect all streams in Central Texas for 43 years, submits the statement on behalf of our members. We also submit the statement on behalf of our partners in the No Dumping Sewage Coalition, which works to stop wastewater pollution and promote water reuse in the Texas Hill Country. We wish to state our complete opposition to Galveston County's petition asking TCQ to eliminate the minimum lot size for on-site sewage facilities. We ask that TCEQ commissioners vote to deny this petition. And because we know that commissioners sometimes direct TCEQ staff to set up a stakeholder process even for rejected petitions, we also ask that the commissioners refrain from doing this for Galveston County's petition. Before we list our objections to this petition, we want to state up front that overall, we like on-site septic systems. In 2019, SPCA, the Watershed Association of Wimberley, and the Meadow Center published a white paper on on-site systems by Susan Parton, an engineer with more than 3 decades of experience in designing on-site septic systems. Ms. Parton wrote that, quote, where lots are larger in more spacious developments or outlying rural areas, it's often more cost-effective to use individual on-site systems. She added, properly sited and designed soil dispersal systems are capable of providing better treatment for a much wider range of pollutants. End quote. The proper siting of on-site septic systems is even more important in the Texas Hill Country because of its rocky soil and uneven terrain. And proper siting is especially crucial in the contributing and recharge zones of the Edwards Aquifer, which has a much lower ability to filter out any pollutants that enter into it. According to a 2019 white paper by Austin's Watershed Protection Department, counties and cities in the Barton Springs zone require lot sizes for on-site systems ranging from 1 to 6 acres, larger than TCQ's half-acre minimum. An additional reason for these larger lot sizes is the widespread awareness that while on-site septic systems have many benefits, they also have a significant failure rate. According to the EPA, quote, an estimated 10 to 20% of septic systems fail at some point in their operational lifetimes, end quote. TCQ's current half-acre lot size requirement is one way to mitigate the inevitability of failing on-site septic systems. For all of the reasons above, failing systems are especially dangerous in the Gallup region we represent, the Hill Country. Galveston County claims in the petition that the elimination of the minimum lot size would be offset by a requirement that septic systems on small lots be designed by a registered sanitarian or professional engineer. We urge you to read the statement in opposition to the petition submitted by David Van Huysen, another engineer with decades of experience in designing decentralized wastewater systems. As Mr. Van Huysen writes, quote, we have already seen that many supposedly professional engineers will put their seal on an OSFF that would use a home-size activated sludge plant that may be cheek to jowl with other lots on which these devices would be employed. The degree to which these plants, I have 3 sentences. The degree to which these plants fail to perform consistently and reliably is legend, end quote. As we try to explain, this is a terrible proposal that would have disastrous effects in the rest of Texas, especially in the Hill Country. If the commissioners want to set up a stakeholder for Rule 285-4 that would only consider change for Galveston County, we won't oppose that. But no one is asking for this change for the rest of Texas. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zapsik. Appreciate that. And I think Ms. Bob may have joined us? No. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. We hope you feel better.
So the next person on my list is Jeff Miller.
Mr. Miller, are you with us?
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Jeff Miller, speaking against this position on behalf of Greater Edwards Aquifer Alliance and 54 member organizations. I'll do my best not to repeat anything that's already been said. Be respectful of your time. The Alliance believes that the state, and specifically Edwards Aquifer region, including the contributing zone, would be adversely affected by any expansion of on-site sewage facilities in the state. The aerobic treatment units do a better job of treating, but these systems don't undergo regular inspections after the first 2 years of service. And so should these rules be implemented and should we go into that rulemaking procedure, we could see more contaminants reaching our drinking water for over 2.5 million people just from the Edwards Aquifer alone, and potentially without any detection due to those lack of inspections. The increased density of development that would be permitted by a rule change, especially in the karst regions of the hill country, would lead to dramatic increases in impervious cover and would also have some effects to flooding as well. We understand some of the unique challenges that Bolivar Peninsula brings for Galveston County. We understand what those challenges are, but some of the statewide impacts of this rule change would extend far beyond that footprint and impact sensitive and critical water sources for the state. Should the Commission decide to move forward with rulemaking, Greater Edward Aquifer Alliance looks forward to working with you on how to ensure the aquifer is protected from future contaminants.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. And can I ask you just to repeat or explain briefly your point about impervious cover? I think you mentioned there would be an increase in impervious cover, and I'm not quite sure I understand
Absolutely. That. As these minimum lot sizes continue to change, and if they were to get smaller, you'd actually end up with increased development and increased density in some of these areas.
Okay.
That would potentially lead to additional flood potentials as well.
I understand what you mean. I thought it might have something to do with the mechanics of the system itself, but I get your point. Mr. Miller, thank you. We appreciate your comments.
Thank you all.
Bob Stokes.
Mr. Stokes.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
We do. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I'm going to echo a few of the thoughts that have already been testified to, so I'll try to keep it short. I'm the director of the Galveston Bay Foundation. Our mission is to preserve and protect the natural resources of Galveston Bay. We've got lots of program areas, but one certainly is water quality. We've engaged in multiple efforts to address bacteria issues across the region, ranging from voter waste to the bacteria implementation group, the BIG, as you know it. And we simply don't believe that this proposed rule change is protective of human health and the environment. As discussed by several people, Bolivar's got a long history of bacteria levels for a variety of reasons, including failing septic systems. Science has told us over and over again that we need a big enough area for these systems to operate, and going smaller will lead to bacteria problems. We know it. Design is important, obviously very important, but then operation and maintenance are issues that follow. The reference was made to a lot of homes on Bolivar with lots of people. Somebody said 30 or 40 or 50 people. I was going to say 10 or 20 people, but the point is these systems get a lot of use. It leads to overuse of the systems. It leads to people parking on the septic fields. I mean, they just don't work very well on Bolivar, and making smaller lot sizes, allowing smaller lot sizes would lead to water quality issues, undoubtedly. So just to close, history and science tells us that a less than a half an acre leads to problems. I don't think there's a need to even begin the process here. So again, we are opposed to this proposed rulemaking effort. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Stokes. Ms. Smith?
Jacob Young.
Mr. Young? Okay,
He is a DR from Trinity River Authority
okay.
in opposition to the
Thank you, Mr. Gillette. We might come back to him and give him one more shot.
Do you want to go back to Mr. Braden?
Yes, is Mr. Braden with us?
Chairman, I show that he's logging on right now.
That he is not logged on?
He's logging in.
Oh, that he's logging in. Okay, we'll give him a moment.
He's on, but he's self-muted.
Mr. Braden, if you could check your mute.
Can you hear me now?
I can. Is that you, Mr. Braden?
It is. I tried to call in, but it won't. The access number is incorrect on the information that's sent out.
Huh. We'll double check that, but we're glad we have you. And when you're ready, please just again state your name for the record, and then the floor is yours.
It's Michael Braden. I think I'm waiting for agenda item number 27.
We are on it, sir, and we are ready for your comments.
Oh, well, that's awesome. Like I said, I called in just in time, or got on just in time. I'm real concerned about the half-acre rule being changed. There's a lot to that rule, and a lot to. I'm opposed to changing it and making it for any kind of a smaller lot. Years of experience as a licensed installer. I've been a maintenance provider and seen numerous places where, half-acre lots shouldn't even been divided back then. But to make them any smaller is a very bad idea.
Thank you for that, Mr. Braden. Appreciate your comments. Let's try one more time for Mr. Young. Are you on the line? Mr. Young? All right, tell you what, we might try to come back to him after we hear from others. So let's turn to the Executive Director's staff. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, General Counsel, and Public Interest Counsel. On behalf of the Executive Director, I'm Donna Cosper with the Program Support and Environmental Assistance Program. With me is Cole Malley with the Environmental Law Division and Andy Gardner, the Deputy Director of the Program Support and Environmental Assistance Division. The rulemaking petition requested an amendment to 30 Tax Section 285.4 to allow for the use of an OSSF system on a lot size smaller than a half acre, as has been discussed. If the system, it must have been designed by an RS, registered sanitarian, or professional engineer, and approved by the permitting authority. When TCEQ was first delegated the authority to regulate OSSFs in 1997, 30 TAC 285.4 required either that lot sizes be at least half acre or that a PE or RS design a site-specific on-site sewage facility to ensure the protection of human health and the environment. In 2001, 30 TAC 285.4 was amended to remove the option for a site-specific design. The lot size requirement has not been reviewed or otherwise amended since the Commission adopted these rules 25 years ago. Because the 1/2 acre lot size requirement has not been considered since that time, staff respectfully recommends approval to consider the petition to allow time to properly research the basis for requiring lot sizes of at least half acre. As part of our research, we will reach out to industry, the public, and research organizations, as well as to other stakeholders to better understand the implications of amending 30 TAC Section 285.4 as requested by Galveston County. Thank you, and we're available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Cosper. I don't have any right now. Commissioner Lindley, any questions?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Janeka?
Always debate when to ask these questions, but I just want to ask them now. Is, to what extent do the current PE designs or registered sanitarian designs for systems like this how do they consider the soil, surrounding soil, where they would be installed?
Any designer has to consider the soil, whether it be a PE or an RS.
Do we have concerns? Well, that helps. That gives me comfort, and I'm just wanting to balance that against concerns that we've heard today about how installation of facilities in the Boulevard Peninsula, where the requesters are interested, is not appropriate. So I'm puzzled. What would be appropriate? What would our agency expect to see would be an acceptable design? But I think I'm hearing from you that is a factor that's considered for, and it's looked at by not us and our staff directly. The entity closer to the lower government makes the decision of that call.
Approximately 95% of our permits are reviewed by our authorized agents, the local entities. Our regional offices do review some permit applications and designs.
The other question I had is the surge population. Is there any acknowledgement or any consideration given to necessary minimum populations for facilities or design of entities that may be for a particular residence versus one where we know or our agency or the responsible entity is aware of a credible surge population or a seasonal differential there?
Good question. Generally, we consider the number of bedrooms to determine the flow that will need to be treated. We understand and we encourage the local entities to consider if a property, say, is used for other purposes than just permanent living, which sometimes can lead to more people using the facilities.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And given that, returning to your point that 95% of these approximately are really being handled and considered and authorized, acted on by the authorized agents, I appreciate what that presents for us as a policy hurdle to work in this space. So thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Chairman, I thought of one question. Were you about to ask something?
No, go ahead.
Well, I'm just curious on this, and if I say any of this wrong, please correct me. So kind of what I heard from your comments is that you could, the executive director is recommending granting this rule petition because it would look at, it would open the door, maybe is the way to say it, give y'all the opportunity to look at what is the basis for a half acre. Is the petition, is this the first time it's ever come into question? Have there been authorized agents over the past, I think you said it's been around 25 years, that have raised this before? Or I guess I'm kind of trying to get at why now? Is it because of the petition? Or have we heard from other authorized agents or anyone for that matter over the years that we need to be that we need to have a stronger basis for having that half acre minimum requirement? And I think I'll stop there. No, that's all I'll ask.
Okay. We have heard from our authorized agents for when they're requested to grant a variance, which is an option for individual case-by-case analysis of permitting, of permit applications. So we are not required, TCQ is not required to review, approve any variance, but we do get the questions because this is a tough issue. And so they want our opinion. As far as an official petition, I am not aware of one. I do know that comments have been given for potentially greater increased sizes, so.
That's helpful. Thank you.
All right, I think we're finished with questions for staff, at least for the moment. Let's try Mr. Young again, see if he's been able to join us. Mr. Young, are you there?
Yes, yes. Can you hear me?
Oh, good. We do. I think there may be some issues with the connection, but why don't we try it? When you're ready, sir, just state your name for the record, and then we're happy to hear your comments.
This is Jacob Young.
Mr. Young, if
Can
you
you hear
might
me better
try
now?
turning down the volume of the device, if you have it playing in the background watching us, that sound is hitting us as feedback.
About now. Is this better?
It is, sir. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Okay. I had two phones going there. I was having problems getting where I could be heard. So my name is Jacob Young. I have been a designated representative working here at the Trinity River Authority around Lake Livingston since 2008. I also am a professional sanitarian. And just to let you know a little bit about Lake Livingston, we're pretty big. We're 83,000 surface acres. We give about 4 million people around the city of Houston drinking water. And we have about 420 miles of shoreline. We parallel the lake with our jurisdiction of 2,000 feet from the water's edge, and it goes through Walker County and Trinity and San Jacinto and Polk. And in the late 60s, this lake was developed, and subdivisions were developed all through the 70s and 80s with smaller than half-acre lots, and I have a lot of them around here. Like I said, since 2008, we have undesirable lots that used to be undesirable are becoming more desirable, and this creates quite a bit of obstacles for a designer and having functional sewer systems, septic systems. Some of these undesirable obstacles include the lots just naturally being small, and that's before they get eroded if they're lakefront. We see underground high water tables that are influenced directly by our lake water. We also have tight clay soils around Lake Livingston. And many of these undesirable lots now that people are choosing to want to buy and build on have surface drainage issues, and they're steep. People tend to come to this area escaping Houston traffic and living conditions, and when they get here, they want a lot. They want their dreams. They want their house to go to have a driveway that's made of concrete. They want their storage buildings and their fenced-in yards and play areas for their grandkids or kids. And in return, these obstacles that we're facing and their desires, we see a lot of the aerobic systems having drip irrigation installed around these tight clay soils. To change the half-acre rule for the whole state of Texas would be a step in the wrong direction, in my opinion, from my experience. And I'd like to be a contributing factor to this decision. Any questions and the committee can come up with that I don't have the answers for today, I'll get you the answers through the facts that we have here in our office. Now, I did reach out to some staff, and they started helping me look through complaints that we've had, and I was able to get to 54 of them in the past couple of days. And what I've noticed is that
Mr. Young, I'll ask you to finish your thoughts. Go ahead, sir.
out of those 54 that we looked at, 81% of them were associated with small lots, smaller than a half acre. And again, please feel free to reach out, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Appreciate it. I think we're ready to hear from the Office of Public Interest Counsel. Mr. Arthur.
OPIC understands the Bolivar Peninsula lacks sewer capacity, and the county intends to achieve safe disposal of wastewater by requiring any OSSF system to be designed by a registered sanitarian or registered professional engineer and approved by the local permitting authority. However, as stated in Texas Water Code 26.081, it is also necessary to public health, safety, and welfare to encourage and promote the use of regional wastewater systems. According to the executive summary, the ED will use the stakeholder process to further evaluate the technical merits of the proposal to ensure adequate protection of the environment and the public is achieved. OPIC agrees with this approach and is therefore not opposed to the initiation of rulemaking proceedings. We will participate in the rulemaking and stakeholder process to determine whether any future proposal can achieve the desired outcome while still protecting water quality and complying with the state policy of regionalization.
Thank you, Mr. Arthur. Colleagues, what do you think? Commissioner Lindley?
I've been writing thoughts furiously, if you can't tell. Oh, yeah, this one's tough, you know, as I think, a number of people have said today. These are kind of just my thoughts. I'm just going to share them. You know, I think there are really good reasons why Chapter 285 says there's a half-acre minimum. And I think what's before us today is a local issue that needs to be dealt with. I'm not sure I'm totally convinced it needs to be at the statewide level. You know, I'm not opposed to development, and I think Galveston County's coming from an approach of just trying to solve a problem. You know, they're just seeking a solution, and I don't want the only solution for Galveston County to be enforcement. So, you know, we all need to work towards a solution for what's going on there. I just don't know if I'm convinced today that I would vote supporting a rule petition. I think that, well, I'll just say if the vote is to grant a rule petition and move forward, you know, I won't throw a fit, but I will say it will take it would take, and I'm not saying the executive director is proposing this today, but I just would want to note now that it would take a significant amount of convincing on my part that less than a half acre would be appropriate. I'll just say that. I have a septic system at my house, so, you know, I have thoughts on it. However, if this truly is the best way to open the discussion, to build the basis for what's in Chapter 285, then I don't know. I mean, I'm just not sure granting the rule petition is the best way to get that done. I mean, to me, I think maybe ED could just do that without granting the rule petition today. And then on the side, we also continue to try and work with Galveston County on their issues. So those are kind of my thoughts. Bottom line is I'm not totally convinced of voting to approve initiating a rulemaking. But I will say, if you two gentlemen do want to do it, that's fine. I just think, you know, the basis of it needs to be kind of what was discussed today, which is, in my mind, solidifying the requirements and developing that, you know, in rule or in a basis, whatever the executive director needs in order to solidify why the requirements are that way. And I'll stop there.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Janeka.
Well said, Commissioner Lilly. I don't think I'm much in disagreement at all. I'm frankly just at war with myself here, whether with my general feelings about rule petitions generally, and how I think that our process is bent towards unclear timelines and expectations for the public, and so I don't give a whole lot of weight to a yes or no vote on petitions when it can translate into such a wide range of outcomes. I think this is a problem we need to continue to work on in trying to explain our process and our ideal path to making changes in our state's laws or local laws and requirements, as this may work out more to be. This space turns out to be something where the judgment calls are being made by our local public servants and public officials, and that's a different kind of animal in my mind as to what we need to insist or insert upon as a minimum bar requirement as the state authority in this process. I'm generally in favor of saying, yes, let's proceed with rule petitions. In this instance, I see some value in considering a denial and initiating a stakeholder process very similar to how we acted on the pristine streams proposal. This clearly indicates some existing concerns with the substance of this request. And if we were voicing concerns, acting on clear concerns of a previous petition out of the likelihood the legislature would need to act, I think, for us to act in a similar manner today for clear technical requirements and direct our staff to go explore and investigate a rulemaking in a similar manner. I don't think that's inconsistent on our part. I think we're at the end of our time to act on this particular rule petition, and so I can't respond to Mr. Zavik's request earlier affirmatively to delay or give more time to consider this. I think I agree with you. Action today is appropriate. I'm open to further discussion. I'd like to hear what you think.
Thank you, Commissioner Janeka. Here are my thoughts. I think they're, somewhat aligned with my colleagues. First of all, it sounds like the reason that this petition had legs in the first instance is because of a very real problem, but a problem that was local in nature. And I'm skeptical of a statewide solution for a local problem that would reduce the acreage requirement. And it does not feel appropriate to me, without consideration of, geology and hydrology. And I guess, that's where the professional engineers or sanitarians might come in. But the way that the petition is teed up feels like too big of a solution for the problem that we're talking about. And we heard testimony today, and there's material in the backup about particular other local interests, that Edwards Aquifer area being one, Lake Livingston. And so I'm just very skeptical about a statewide solution to this. I hold out the possibility that there could be local, conditions or instances where it might be appropriate to have development below a half acre. I think that would require, some special attention and controls if we were going to go down that path. I wouldn't categorically rule out a rulemaking to help address the issue that is facing the Boulevard Peninsula. But I don't have a good feel for that yet because we haven't done the work yet. Now, if the ED staff says that they want to go back and revisit the half acre requirement, we don't necessarily need a rulemaking process in order to do this. So I think on balance, where I'm coming out is probably denying this petition, continuing to outside of a rulemaking process, focus on a solution for the Boulevard Peninsula, not in the process create problems elsewhere. And if we have a rulemaking that's a little bit more tightly defined that helps solve the problem in Galveston County, then I would be eager to take that up. But I'm a little on the fence, but mostly I think denying the petition is maybe the better course today.
I would agree with everything you just said. I think for today, right now, I'm a little bit more on the side of the fence of denying. I will say, I want the ED to look at this issue. I'm not convinced yet that it's something that needs to go down outside of the rural stakeholder process. I don't know if we're there yet. I think y'all need to look at it. Y'all are the experts. If we need to have some sort of ED, initiated rule, let's figure that out. If we need to have, other kind of discussions out of the rulemaking process, let's do that. So I don't want y'all to take away what I'm saying today is go start a stakeholder process, because I'm not even there yet. I just want y'all to go look at the issue and let's talk about it, because again, I'm not convinced it's a statewide issue that we need to look at quite yet. And so I hope that gives you a little direction of where I'm coming from. I don't want to put words in their mouth. I'm not, so I'll stop there. I just want to, I don't know, there's been some.
No, if I were to chime in, I would say let's start with the Boulevard Peninsula stakeholder
yeah,
group.
and maybe that's what we need to do.
And not implicate a statewide process at this point.
Yeah.
That's my feeling. Commissioner Ginecco, what do you think?
Thank you for suggesting it, Chairman Newman. I'll ditto that enthusiastically, only to say that I had different thoughts than Commissioner Lindley on timing for a stakeholder group, but I was viewing it differently as a very hyper-local thing. I think the answer here is our ability to give a yes or no on the exception cases, on the instances quickly, expeditiously, if it's needed, to step up our ability to do that. One clear way we could do that is increasing the amount of information we need, and if some very specific Boulevard Peninsula specific guidance as to what our expectations, pre-approved parameters of under half-acre lots, the additional technical features that would be necessary for us to say, here's a clear bare minimum. I think that's a promising process that answers this policy problem very well, that doesn't disrupt all of these other concerns elsewhere in the state and even locally that we've heard from the public today in the specific change presented before us. But just an earlier point I wanted to make was I think the dilemma I had as to how to act on this rulemaking, this petition, saying yes or no. Initially, my dilemma is we can't rest on 25-year-old, this is why we need to take this out. If that's the extent of our work, us showing our work to the public as to why that's the policy law of the land that's acceptable, in addressing the concerns that Galveston County rightly raises, we want additional flexibility in cases where we want to deviate on this particular factor. I think we need to be responsive to that, and we don't need to do that by rule, but we could certainly engage in a lot more stakeholder conversation locally. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Other thoughts, colleagues?
No.
Well, number one, we want to be a partner with Galveston County in helping them solve their issue. And if there's an appropriate way to do that through a narrowly tailored rule, I'm happy to go down that path. I think where I am today is the way this is teed up as a statewide issue. I'm in the camp of voting to deny the petition.
I would agree.
All right, well, if that's the case, let's take a short recess so I can gather my thoughts on a motion, and then we'll take maybe a 5-minute recess, and then I'll return and offer a motion. Is that all right with you, Commissioner Ginecco?
I'm amenable to that. I could attempt making a motion right now and let that sit with you as a parting shot. If you like it right now, we can like it. You can puzzle over it, and we can return after that.
Great. Let's hear it.
I'd propose that we make a motion that we deny the petition for rulemaking filed by Galveston County on September 16th, 2022, concerning amendment to 30 Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 285, because of, based on the information before us today, indicating the requested state rule change to allow lots of less than 1/2 acre does not adequately protect against potential public health and environmental concerns. I think that overstates it, but could work in the motionese, effectively stating the fact that requested change moves protection of public health in the wrong direction, and we can say no on that basis.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Lindley, I heard a motion. What say you?
May I also recommend that any motion contain direction for the General Counsel's office to draft an order consistent with the Commission's discussion for the day?
I further move that we direct the General Counsel to draft an order denying the petition consistent with our discussion today. Thank you, Mr.
Friendly amendment to your own motion.
I can second that motion. Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. I don't think we have a need for a recess then. The motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you all very much. Commissioner Giusti, thank you for being here with us today. I'm sorry we couldn't do what you asked us to do today, but we hope to work with you to help you address the issues on the Boulevard Peninsula.
Thank you all so much for hearing us today.
Thank you. And Ms. Smith, when you're ready, please call the next item.
Item number 28 is our public comment session. The commission will receive comments from the public on any matters within the jurisdiction of the TCEQ in accordance with Texas Water Code Section 5.112, except for pending permitting matters or contested cases which are subject to ex parte prohibitions found in the Texas Government Code. In the interest of time, speakers will be limited to 3 minutes each, with a total time for public comment limited to 1 hour. Please note that the Commission's discussion of subjects for which public notice has not been given are limited to statements of specific factual response and recitation of existing policy. And I believe we have one person here for public comment, Mr. Stan Mitchell.
Mr. Mitchell, good morning. It's good to see you again, sir.
Morning. Thank you.
Let's test that microphone. I think it's on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything's working great.
All right. Well, go ahead when you're ready, sir.
All right. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Bexar County resident Stan Mitchell. Available proof texts lead us to 6 conclusions. Number 1, your website names TCEQ, quote, the environmental agency for the state, unquote, and then cites 2 objectives. Ensure consistent, just, and timely enforcement, and promote and foster voluntary compliance. Timely enforcement is incompatible with voluntary compliance. TCEQ has not enforced. Perhaps your inaction is based on this conflicted self-concept. 2, the Texas Natural Resources Conservation Commission, replaced by the TCEQ effective September 1st, 2002, joined, quote, recent U.S. EPA and TNRCC enforcement actions, close quote, directed by the 569-page May 2003 EIS, the Environmental Impact Statement. What became of the EIS-directed joint TCEQ-EPA enforcement? 3, this EIS cited Carrizo-Simsboro aquifers quantity constraints. The Post Oak Savannah Groundwater Conservation District, PUSGCD, has approved pumping permits for 103,000 annual acre-feet of Simsboro water, but the Simsboro recharges at only 12,000 acre-feet per year. 12,000 in, 103,000 out. Dr. Curtis Chubb's May 2021 report of receding aquifers may be Texas Water's canary in a coal mine. 4, the Vista Ridge Pipeline project required a $3.4 billion investment to move a nominal 55,000 annual acre-feet of water from the Carrizo-Simsboro aquifers to San Antonio. As the environmental agency for the state, why have you not been involved? Has your staff confirmed our reported furtive tracking in transferable Edwards aquifer pumping rights by SAW's CEO, Puente? 5, the 2003 EIS also reported aquifer quality concerns. The Lone Star Sierra Club urged the PUSGCD to collaborate with the TCEQ. Has PUSGCD General Manager Gary Westbrook been collaborating with you? 6, Investopedia's, quote, regulatory capture, unquote, explains TCEQ's feckless aquifer management over the past 20 years. Chairman Neerman, please rectify regulatory capture inequities as we seek enforcement from other sources. Ms. Megan Tack has my contact information. Thank you for your ears.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Good to see you again, sir.
Thank you, and you.
I'll just offer one factual or legal comment, and that is that TCEQ largely lacks jurisdiction over groundwater. Groundwater in the state of Texas is private property, and so the agency has far less authority or say what happens to private property groundwater than it does for surface water. So that may partially explain or maybe fully explain some of the disconnects that you may be seeing, Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you for that clarification. I'll think on that further. Thank you.
Okay. Take care, sir. Thank you. And is that it for the public comment, Ms. Smith?
Yes.
All right. Please call the next items.
Items 29 through 32 are for closed session, and the commission will meet in closed session today in Building E, Room 211S at, do you want to say 11? Give people 5 minutes?
Sure.
Okay, at 11 o'clock, as permitted by the Open Meetings Act, including Texas Government Code Sections 551.071 and 551.074, to take up and consider matters pursuant to items numbers 29 through 32 as posted and noticed.
The time is 10:56, and we are in recess.
The commission met in room 211S of Building E for closed session from 11:01 a.m. until 11:12 a.m. approximately on item number 31 as posted in notice pursuant to Texas Government Code, section 551.074. No action was taken. This agenda stands adjourned and the time is 11:16.